Hello, and welcome to Human Being 101 podcast. I'm Kathleen Schafer, and this is our weekly Conversations with Kathleen, where we discuss how to live the mission of the Human Being Store: better people, better work, better world. This week, I was struck by the interesting things in the headlines and the similarities to each other, even though they seem quite different, and to what it says for all of us about how we approach our work in the world. And those two things are Megxit, better known as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, decision to step back from their full-time royal duties to live a life part-time in North America. It sounds, since the media reports are saying that it'll be splitting time between Canada and England. And the other big item of news interest this week has been impeachment. So let's start with Meghan and Harry. And the interesting thing to me about this situation is you have all of the kinds of complications that go along with any family dynamic. Every one of us can relate to that. And yet, you have two people that are living a life that many people would equate to a fairy tale existence. I mean, they literally live in castles. They are known worldwide for being the Duke and Duchess and for being the grandson and granddaughter-in-law of the Queen of England. I mean, aspirationally, this is what many people would think is having made it to the top. They have wealth, they have fame, they have houses, they travel, they have anything that they want. And yet what's fascinating in reaching what, again, many people would consider to be the pinnacle of a life experience, they are actually making the decision to step back from many of the accoutrements, all of the benefits of being royal, to focus on living a life that is more in line with contribution and what they feel is going to allow them to best express who they are. I mean, here at the Human Being Store, that's exactly what we talk about in reverse. We talk about the idea that as individuals understand and own their gift, know who they are, their talents, their strengths and skills, get clear about how they want to offer that in the world and go out and offer it, that then many of the things, the external things, the human things that all of us desire become much easier to bring into our experience, whether it's jobs or salary or money or homes or travel, whatever it is, that those things come from us being truly connected to who we are and being happy and satisfied with putting it out into the world. So many people look at and think about, well, wait, I'm only going to be happy once I have these external things. And with the example of Harry and Meghan, it's fascinating that you have two young people with much of their life ahead of them who have all of the external things that everyone feels like they desire. And yet the one thing that was missing was being able to live an authentic life of contribution. And without that ability to live freely and make that contribution, then those external things didn't matter as much. They didn't feel as good. So I ask you to think about and reflect on that as you continue to watch, as I'm sure the world will, what continues to unfold for them. And across the pond, as they like to say, in England, we had the impeachment of the President of the United States. And stepping back from the politics of this and looking at it from a systemic issue, looking at it from a societal issue of who we are as Americans and as a country, it's a big moment for us when we have the elected leader of our country being accused of a crime. and having that ratified by the House of Representatives. As we all know, this will be going to trial, and I'm sure there will be many, many things worthy of discussion that will unfold over the coming weeks. And the part for this conversation that is meaningful is, once again, you have someone who has reached the pinnacle of success. For many people, being President of the United States is quite similar to being the Queen or the King of England. You've reached the top. And here we have a president who, has gotten to that position differently than any of his predecessors have, by coming, straight from the private sector and directly into the presidency. And, there are a lot of reasons that people aspire to that job. One of them is because, like so many, they feel like having that top job is going to be a peak, wonderful experience. And I'm sure there's a lot of good that comes in being president. And yet, if people are choosing to pursue titles or positions of power and authority without clarity and ownership of knowing who they are, knowing the best of themselves, and knowing how to best put that forward, no matter what happens, if it's kind of an external quest, it's going to be a rocky road. And there are going to be a lot of things that come from the striving for the position of power or for maintaining the position of power, rather because people are choosing not to focus on the contribution of what it is that they have to offer. So in this case, ironically, that the crime that he is being accused of committing is trying to further his own political interest to maintain his position of power and authority, at the time, and using U.S. resources to do so. So even when someone is able to achieve great things, and it is a great achievement that Donald Trump was able to become president in the way that he did, if we're not true to ourselves, and if we're not oriented to the best of ourselves, then there are always going to be pieces of this that are going to come back to haunt us. There are going to be pieces of this that are going to stand in the way of our happiness and of our satisfaction. And if you aren't going to be happy and satisfied in choosing or in experiencing the pinnacle that you've been striving for, why have it? Why have it? And yet, that's the cross that we get in both of these examples. It's that we keep thinking that achieving these external things, positions, money, influence, fame, is somehow going to compensate for not feeling alive and fulfilled and connected and good about who we are and our ability to offer that to the betterment of the world. And so what I ask you to consider as we wrap up here today is, wouldn't it be great if you could get to the end point that you think that you're striving for? If you think that, again, money, fame, title, position, possession is going to lead to happiness, and yet here are two examples of people who have achieved it and who certainly aren't experiencing a lot of satisfaction and happiness at the moment, what if you tried it the other way around? What if you considered about getting clear about who you are, knowing your talents, your strengths, and your skills, and being able to communicate that clearly to people, of knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt of what you want to contribute in the world and how you want to contribute your talents, your strengths, and skills, and then taking steps and acting on that, and being happy and satisfied because that is what feels good to you in this moment, in this day, in this week. If that's what everybody's looking for, and people that we know in our headlines have those things and are still wanting to find that satisfaction that comes through contribution, I'm inviting each one of you to try and turn the tables and achieve what it is that everyone really desires, and that's to feel good about who they are and to be connecting with people who are wanting to engage with the gifts that they have to offer the world. I'm Kathleen Schafer. This is the Human Being 101 podcast. We invite your comments, your questions, and your thoughts, and we look forward to talking with you next week.